Welcome. You know, in the legal world, the tiniest details can have the biggest consequences. A single hyphen, a misplaced pronoun. These things can literally shift the meaning of a contract or a court filing. Today, we're going to zero in on a couple of those grammatical points that are absolutely crucial for any legal professional.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever been drafting something important and just paused, wondering, wait, is this a hyphen or a dash? Or you get tangled up in that classic whom versus who debate? Trust me, you are not alone. These little things can trip up even the most seasoned lawyers. But don't worry, by the time we're done here, you'll be using them with total confidence.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to talk about why this level of precision is just non-negotiable in legal English. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the hyphen. After that, we are finally going to settle that whom versus who question once and for all. And we'll wrap up by connecting all these dots back to why this makes you a sharper, more effective professional. Sound good? Let's jump in.
So let's get right to it with our first section, precision in legal English. We're about to see just how much impact these seemingly tiny details can have.
You know, you can think of a legal document almost like a fortress. Every single word is a brick. If even one of those bricks is weak or out of place, the entire structure is at risk. So today, we're going to focus on sharpening two very specific tools that help you build arguments that are just rock solid.
All right, ready to get into the details? Let's start with our first tool here in Section 2. It's the hyphen. Now, don't let its small size fool you. This little punctuation mark is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to creating clarity.
Okay, first things first, let's just clear this up right away. A hyphen and a dash are not the same thing. That short little mark you see, that's our hyphen. Its job is to connect words, to glue them together. The longer one, that's a dash. It's used to separate parts of a sentence, kind of like you might use a comma or parentheses. It's a simple difference, but getting it right is crucial. So what's the hyphen's real job? Well, it's a connector. It joins words together to create compound terms, basically entirely new concepts. And its whole purpose, its reason for being, is to get rid of any potential confusion. It's all about avoiding ambiguity. And you can see this in action all over the place, especially in a field like intellectual property law. A co-applicant isn't just a co and an applicant, it's a single legal concept. Same with know-how. You don't just fine and tune a patent application, you fine-tune it. It's one action. And think about a term like state-of-the-art technology. That hyphen pulls all those words together to create one specific, powerful idea. Without it, the meaning just falls apart.
All right, we've got a handle on the hyphen. Now it's time to tackle one of the true heavyweights of English grammar, whom versus who. I know, this one causes a lot of headaches, but we're about to make it super simple. It really just comes down to understanding subjects and objects.
Okay, here's the secret. It's actually a pretty easy trick. Who is for the subject of the sentence. Think of who as the person doing the action. If you can replace the word with he or she, then who is your guy. On the other hand, whom is for the object, the person receiving the action. If you can replace it with him or her, you need to use whom. Let's see how this works with some examples.
Okay, check out this example from procedural law. Those are the witnesses whom she called in the trial. So why is it whom and not who?
Let's break it down. Who is performing the action? Who is doing the calling? She is. So she is our subject. And who is on the receiving end of that call? The witnesses. They are the object of the action. So since whom stands in for the object, it's the right choice. You can test it. She called him, she called her. It fits perfectly.
Now let's look at it from the other side. Who drafted the summons for the hearing? See, this time we're using who. So what's different here?
Well, in this sentence, we're asking about the person who actually performed the action. We want to know the identity of the drafter, the subject. Who stands in for that unknown person. Again, let's use our little trick. He drafted the summons. She drafted the summons. It works. So who is correct?
And hey, just to make sure we're all clear on some of the legal terms we've been using, a summon is that official order for someone to show up in court. A witness, of course, is someone who gives testimony. The trial is the main event in front of a judge where a jury might be present to deliver a verdict. That's their decision, and that can lead to a sentence, which is the punishment. Just having this vocabulary down is a huge part of mastering legal English. All right, this brings us to our final and maybe most important section. We've looked at the rules, but now let's talk about why it all matters so much in your day-to-day work as a legal professional.
And here is the absolute key takeaway. If you're just chatting with a friend and you mix up who and whom, honestly, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to care. But when you are drafting a legal document, it is a completely different world. Every single detail is essential to being concrete. One little bit of ambiguity can create a massive loophole. When the stakes are that high, your language has to be airtight.
So, let's just quickly recap the big points. Use hyphens to connect words and kill any chance of ambiguity. Use who for the subject, the doer of the action. Use whom for the object, the receiver of the action. And most importantly, remember that in legal writing, this kind of precision, it's not optional. It's everything.
And that leaves us with something to think about. We've covered hyphens and pronouns today, but what other small grammar rules out there can have a huge impact on a legal document? Think about that. The journey to mastering legal English never really ends, but with every one of these details you lock down, you become a stronger, more effective professional. Thanks so much for joining me.